on the nationally traded market. At its peak, it returned over 4 times in the last 10 years. The leveraged version of this asset did 16x in the last 2 years. 16 times your money. You put in 10 grand, 10 years later, you're a millionaire. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. But what causes these things to go up and down? What causes this to become more valuable over time or decrease in value suddenly? Well, there's 2 ways that companies that are traded, or companies that just exist in general, provide profit. Dividends, which is a payment for holding shares in a company. This can be 2%, it can be up to 20% of a company's earnings per share. And earnings per share is the traditional way to value a company, or the bedrock value of a company. Earnings per share is the earnings of a company or business divided over the number of shares. So you either have the incentive to hold a share regardless of the price because of the dividend it pays, or you have the incentive to hold a share in a company that you think will grow in earnings over time. That is one fundamental part of market structure that you have to understand, is that the reason prices are the way they are is because perceived value in those companies for the future as dividends, or the value of the company as presented as earnings per share, or the potential future earnings per share that investors expect. If investors expect that earnings per share will increase dramatically over time, they're probably willing to pay more today for tomorrow's earnings per share. So you'll notice, and if I had more time than 2009 to 2023, you would know that in general the stock market goes up. Why is this? No one buys things that go down in value. Why would you buy things that lose value? Only poor people do that. We're not poor people. We own businesses. So we buy things that appreciate in value. How do you appreciate things in value? You make them more productive, produce more goods, sell more things, etc. There is an overwhelming demand for these things to grow in value over time. So that's what they do over time. If you zoom in a little bit, it's not always a straight line up. There's several months where things go sideways. Sometimes these things plunge so bad, it would scare even the best investors out of it. So they sell their shares and they no longer have an interest in that company because it took a temporary hit. That temporary hits end. The path to wealth by owning businesses is an escalator or a staircase. You have up steps and then you have little down steps, but in general it goes more up than it goes down. That is the basic reality of the market. But there are things that affect that cause these cycles. These downturns don't come out of nowhere. Where do they come? Well, if you put too much money in the system, like we have since COVID hit, whenever COVID hit, we had this huge dip here. It's nothing compared to what we're experiencing now, but at the time it was catastrophic. So what did we do to address this slowdown in the economy because of a sudden illness that was rampaging through multiple countries? Well, we gave people free money, stimmy checks. My computer exists because of Trump bucks. Thank you, Daddy Trump. But there's always a hangover. When consumers have more money, they're willing to pay higher prices because it's not their money. They don't give a shit. You give me $2,000, I'm going to buy me a new smoker. I don't even care if I only cook out twice a week. It was free fucking money. Well, what happens whenever the people that make those things say, if you're willing to accept this price today, I'll sell you another one tomorrow for the same price. That's inflation. They're willing to pay more than absolutely necessary, and the people that make these things now expect much more. This is how inflation gets entrenched. When money is cheap and everyone has it, who cares what the price of things are? You can always squeeze more money out of people. So everyone started charging more for their goods and services, and more goods and services were sold because people had free money. That's how you get this. Look at the economic growth since 2000 compared in just the last 2 years. Do you see a disconnect from reality? Because I do. You have to pay the piper. We have two choices. We can either have breadlines and layoffs and nobody's buying anything, or we can be like Zimbabwe or Venezuela, where it costs $1 trillion to get a fucking roll of toilet paper. Fortunately, we are a first world country, and we would kill everybody if they didn't lower inflation after inflating the economy so much. So what do we do? How do you lower inflation? You kill the demand for everything. If gas is $5 a gallon, nobody wants to buy this shit. It's too expensive. I still only make X amount at work. So how am I going to even afford to go to my job when my job is so expensive to go to? So fuck it, I'll just stay home, get on food stamps. That's a real reality for a lot of people. Fuck, this house is expensive. I think I'll just rent a shitty 1-bedroom apartment instead. So they default on their mortgage and they move into a rental, causing the housing market to collapse, etc. Which is what happened here. And we thought this was an insane level of decline. Do you see how small that is compared to this shit? Wow. And we really freaked out about 2008. The work must be equal to the result. And in this case, we are about to get fucked really bad. Really, really bad. So, when inflation gets out of control, the Federal Reserve, what it does to destroy demand is it raises the cost of everything until the consumer says, no more. Fuck it. I don't need it that bad. And because people can't make money, or the money that they're used to, they're willing to lower their prices, which causes prices to drop. When prices drop, that is the same thing as inflation dropping. They're taking money out of the economy after having pumped this up to an insane level. Thank God they're rational enough to destroy the U.S. economy at this point, because $10 a gallon for gas was a possible reality. Now, not so much. But it also serves another purpose. The only way for big money to buy up companies the way they need to is if they shake investors out of their shares and accumulate them. This is getting into Wyckoff patterns. There are a few basic ones. There are accumulation, which is when smart money wants to gain a stronger hold in these companies, and it results in bull runs. Like so, this isn't this bull run from the bottom of COVID, where money became cheap again, all the way up to the top, is an accumulation phase. It's where people are buying the bulk of companies that pay dividends, etc., as cash flow, and cash flow is king. Whenever you have cash flow, you can buy more businesses, you can buy more things with that cash flow. Problem is, when money becomes expensive because of inflation, like today, they're not so happy, so they start marking down the economy. But first, in order to go further down, you can't go down in a straight line. These people don't want to lose money. So what do? They give the average person enough hope to hang themselves. Oh, this is the end of capitalism. Oh, this is horrible. Oh, wait. Never mind. Maybe this is the market bottom. Maybe now I feel comfortable to buy more and to sell more and for volume to go up. That is the only way rich people get the liquidity that they need to acquire majorities in companies. And what does this psychology on both ends, the average retail consumer and the big money that's acquiring the company, what does it develop? A distribution phase where smart people are, well, I mean, for people for smart money that wants to accumulate companies. Sorry, we got to go back for a second. They provide this sideways movement, which is a lot more dramatic if you zoom in. I'm not going to do that right now. They have to force people to become sellers in order to acquire greater shares in this company. So they sell enough to cause a panic, and the people at the bottom of that panic sell to the people that are willing to buy. And what does that result in? Well, it starts going up again, but it's at an acceptable range for the people that are willing to buy these companies. It's a fair price at that point, so it rises again. Well, what is the opposite of that? What if the value of a company is going down because money's becoming more expensive, but they still hold these companies? What are they going to do with these failing companies? What they do is they start distributing those shares to fucking idiots, to be frank. People that don't know what they're doing, don't know how to value companies, and are just starting. They're probably in their 30s saying, oh, I'm going to invest in Coca-Cola. Well, no one's going to be buying your shitty $5 Coca-Cola. Or less people are, so you're going to lose money. Congratulations. You just became exit liquidity for the big league. And what happens whenever the average retail buyer of these stocks is like, fuck, I haven't made money in months. What should I do? Well, they sell it. And the people behind them that were later and dumber than them, they are like, well, fuck, I'm losing even more money than they are. So they sell, and they sell, and they sell, and they sell, and just enough hope for more people to sell. Until you get to the next distribution phase. And people are thinking, again, oh, this has to be a market bottom. Because it's going sideways. It's not losing more value. Oh, it's fine. But the fundamentals of the economy has not changed. Interest rates are still going up. The cost of goods are still going up faster than wages are going up and can support it. This is just another one of those things where it's copium. It's opium for people that are too dumb to realize that things have not changed, therefore the overall trend will not change. And the overall trend is we're all fucked. And guess what? Yes, it was a markdown. Why? Because money is becoming more expensive, people have less of it to throw around, everyone's already spent it and used it, and they need to sell things in order to pay for the rent this month instead of buying more stocks. So in general, there will be more sellers than buyers, which leads to an accelerated result until it does eventually bottom out, which it will. But it will only bottom out once the Federal Reserve says, hey, we're going to pump more money into the system. And you will see human nature's very predictable. Oh, it's the end of capitalism. Oh, it's a rally. We're fine. Oh, it's the end of capitalism. Oh, we're fine. Oh, fuck. The market bottomed. Oh, fuck. Until the underlying reasons are addressed, the errors in policy are addressed, it's going to keep forming this triangle, this perfectly, almost perfectly symmetrical psychology of buying and selling. So now that you know that we can determine what the economy will do based on economic policy, monetary policy, and the reality on the ground, let's look at how we can make a shit ton of money in a small period of time. I will introduce to you two tools. One is VWAP and one is Heikin-Ashi candles. Let's start with the latter. Heikin-Ashi candles, it determines if something is trending up or trending down, I believe weighted against its volume and not just the price movement, but the volume, which means the amount that's traded in a 5-minute session. These Heikin-Ashi candles, they tell you if an uptrend has ended or if a downtrend has ended. And with that knowledge, we know if things are going to go up or down from there, because buying eventually wanes, selling eventually wanes. It kind of fluctuates back and forth, right? The reason for that is because the people that bought at a good price, they sell at a good price too, because they want to make money. And the people that were late or are dumb, they start losing money and they panic. What does that panic do? It makes them sell more than they bought, because they're so afraid of losing money. It's all human psychology. What does VWAP do? VWAP determines what the average volume weighted fair price for an asset is in a trading session. That moves, of course, but it moves within a frame, within a window. Markets are pretty efficient, and there's more participants all the time. So the spread between the value of assets has diminished over the years quite a bit. And you can measure these values with a high and a low, 291.97, 288.95, and the median true average by volume price for this session is 290.46 at the end of the day. If you think that there's going to be more buying than selling in a session, what does the value of a stock do if there's more selling than buying over a trading days period? It goes down further than it goes up. Armed with this knowledge, we can say that it's probably going to reverse trend from the middle. Anytime that you buy a contract that goes up in value when the price goes down in value, you're almost guaranteed to win if you buy that contract when the price is above average. You really want it whenever it's above the top barrier, because that's you can't get more guaranteed than that. But when there's a strong trend, it usually reverses at the middle. You'll see it was below average a great portion of the day, and it ended well below the average for the day. So that would have been a good opportunity to buy. And that, and that, and that. Any of these points above that light blue line was above the average by volume price, and it was below for the day. So if you had a contract which gained value by going down like that, you can make a lot of money. How much money? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's go to Robinhood, get a different brokerage. This one is dog shit, but just for demonstrative purposes, I will show you what that did for the day. This was a 3.53% decline. Out of $100, you lost $3.53. What the fuck? Why are we freaking out about this? It's nothing, right? Well, hold on. The value of the shortest termed contract for that day, nearest to the money, for put, gained in value by 200 fucking percent. If you had $1,000 worth of contracts and you sold them at the very end of the day, the last candle of the day, you made $1,000 in profit off of your grand in one day. But how many times in a row can you be right? I mean, even if you understand that Heiken Ashi tells whenever a trend is ending and what the average price is and if it's going up or down, because of Wyckoff patterns and psychology, how many times in a row can you be right, really? I mean, if you bet $1,000 and you gain $1,000, but then the next bet you bet $2,000, you're out of the market, because randomness does happen. Even if you trade with the best edge you can formulate, technical, quantitative, macroeconomics, it doesn't matter. Sometimes people do shit for no reason, and it results in a day that totally blows up your trade. You will lose everything on some contracts. How do you keep going from that? If you bet your whole portfolio every time you spin that wheel, you don't go on. You lose everything, and that's it. That's how you blow up an account. But if you learn something called risk management, the 2% rule, you bet 2% of your portfolio. If you lose 2%, how many more times can you be wrong in a row? 49 more times in a row before you lose everything. If you really do your homework, the odds of you being wrong 49 times in a row is so laughable. You would deserve to be robbed at gunpoint because you're so fucking dumb. It's not going to happen. But if you're right, that 2% becomes 4%, and then you get to be wrong once for free. That's power. Once you are capable of being wrong 1,000 times in a row, you become a god. Whether you're wrong or you're right, the amount of times you're right snowballs to such an extent that being wrong has no meaning. You can be wrong a year in a row, and in the 10-year span that you are doing this, be filthy rich. That's the true secret. Risk management. Do you have any questions?
No.
All right, kill the recording.